Like it or not, Nike and Adidas are by far the two most popular brands, but they're not the only brands producing top quality football boots. So if you're one of those people that's trying to stand out from the crowd or you just want something a little bit different, here are the 10 boots that I can wholeheartedly recommend as legitimately being just as good as anything you can buy from Nike or Adidas. If you guys do end up enjoying this video and perhaps want to see more top 5 and top 10 videos on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on future content from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Also, if you guys are interested in any of the boots that you see in today's video, there will be individual links for all 10 picks down below in the description where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick those boots up below their normal retail prices. So in no particular order, here's the list. So this is it. The New Balance Tekela V1 Pro, formerly known as the 1.0 Pro, just a name change, nothing has physically changed with the boot itself, is truly one of the most underrated football boots on the market right now. It features a thin synthetic upper reinforced by kinetic stitching, which is basically the Spider-Man spiderweb looking pattern that you have running throughout the entire boot, and then the inside of the upper is lined in this extremely soft material. The upper is extremely flexible, and while technically not a knitted upper, actually has the most sock-like experience that I think you can get from any football boot out there right now. Literally no break-in time required whatsoever, and just extremely comfortable. You also get a slight amount of extra grip due to the silicone coating that you have on the surface of all of the stitching that is extremely well done. The lacing system is a little bit shallow. The boot as a whole is a little bit on the wider side, so responsiveness and overall lockdown will vary from person to person. The stud pattern could admittedly be a little bit more aggressive as well, but I love the super flexible sole plate that just works extremely well with the soft upper. At the 2 spot, we have the 1, the Puma 1, 19.1. Now the Puma 1 19.1, specifically the kangaroo leather version, is in my opinion the one to have, although if you do prefer a more barefoot feel on the ball, the synthetic one is not a bad one either. The leather version, in my opinion, is the one to have simply based on the fact that I find it to be the most comfortable, and I think most people who have tried both versions of the one would agree with me. The kangaroo leather you get at the toe is nice and soft, very comfortable, stretches to the shape of your feet, and provides a very nice touch on the ball, where the midfoot area is made out of a much thinner material with a knitted base, but still plenty of structure and excellent lockdown. With the adjustability that you get due to the extra lacing positions at the top, you really do get tremendous lockdown, especially through the heel, and to a certain extent, because the lacing positions do go up a little bit higher than the average football boot, there is a slight aspect of ankle support, although don't expect anything crazy. It's got a very lightweight construction and a very aggressive FG-AG stud pattern as well. As an overall package, it's an excellent boot. Although personally, I'd have the lows. These boots are the 1, which is a reference to The Matrix. So if you didn't see the movie, this isn't a funny joke, and even if you did see the movie, it's probably still not a funny joke. The made in Japan Mizuno Morelia Neo 2 has pretty much stood the test of time. The Morelia Neo concept as a whole has not changed for basically 6, 7, maybe even 8 years at this point, and for good reason. It's still an excellent boot, and Mizuno really doesn't need to change anything. You get the best of the best as far as build quality is concerned, which you can always expect from a made-in-Japan Mizuno product. Yes, it's more expensive, but trust me when I say that you get what you pay for, and if durability is important to you, especially in a lightweight football boot, look no further than this guy right here. You get super premium, very thin kangaroo leather in the forefoot and toe box area, which gives you the touch and comfort aspect that you're probably looking for if you really like leather boots, while the midfoot area and tongue is made out of a very thin synthetic material that gives you a nice touch on the ball as well as tremendous lockdown and responsiveness. Then a sole plate and stud pattern that admittedly is not as aggressive as something like a Nike Mercurial, but you don't like Nike. Remember, that's why you're watching this video. So you get this more aggressive take on a more traditional stud pattern that actually provides really good traction. Not to mention, the boots are one of the lightest options on the market right now. Did you know Lotto still exists? The Lotto Stadio 45 is a boot that I recently discovered and have to say I've been extremely impressed with. In terms of value for money, this is tough to beat. It features a kangaroo leather upper that's done in a way that only Lotto has ever done, where it's super soft, it's super flexible, but it's also remarkably thin, so it doesn't have the bulky feel of a lot of leather boots. It's very traditional in terms of its overall construction with a central lacing system. The build quality is phenomenal, being that these are made in Italy. Durability was kept in mind as well, and you can see nylon stitching running all the way through the forefoot and toe box area, attaching the sole plate to the upper, something that we rarely ever see anymore. The boot features, as expected, a very traditional sole plate and stud pattern that feels really good and performs the part, not to mention they're only about $105. The Nike Premier 2 is an excellent boot, but for the same price, if not a little bit less, this is the one to have. These are great boots, but if you choose to wear them in a match, have an ambulance on standby just in case you get stepped on. The Under Armour Magnetico Pro has on offer arguably the most unique experience you can have from a pair of football boots right now, but it isn't without its flaws. We talk about boots that have a barefoot feel all the time, Nike Mercurials being one of those very popular boots in this particular category, but this takes it to the next level. When you make contact with the ball wearing the Magnetico Pro, it legitimately feels like you're not wearing anything on your feet whatsoever, almost as if you are truly barefoot, because this upper is so thin, it's so soft, it's so flexible, you just don't feel it whatsoever. But surprisingly, the lockdown and overall comfort is very, very good. This is not a plasticky feeling synthetic by any means at all. Very simple in its design, with the laces running down the middle, has an above average insole, I would say, and the sole plate and stud pattern, while nothing special, does get the job done. It's not particularly lightweight, which I think is something you might expect from a boot this thin, but the other thing that is worth noting is that because the upper is so thin, durability does come into question, especially if you play on less than favorable pitches as well as on artificial grass. This is, in my opinion, a boot that should be worn exclusively on very well-kept fields where it is a little bit softer. At that point, the durability isn't as much of a concern, so just be aware of that. This is the Medusa, with an E for some reason. The Umbro Medusa 3 Pro is the laced option in the current Medusa lineup, with the Medusa 3 Elite being a laceless model that is, quite frankly, okay, but definitely I think the laced version is the one to have. It features a kangaroo leather upper, where the kangaroo leather is admittedly not incredible, but it is soft and definitely softens up significantly more once you break the boots in, providing a very comfortable fit and a decent touch on the ball. The laces run directly through the middle, and the overall construction and design of the upper has been kept very simple, which honestly I can appreciate. As far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, it features an outsole that is very similar looking to an Adidas Sprint Frame type thing, but doesn't necessarily feel like that. It's very thin and very flexible. And then the stud pattern also features a very Adidas-esque layout, but the studs, for whatever reason, are very short. It's more of a hard ground stud pattern than it is a firm ground stud pattern, which is a bit of a bummer if you do play on slightly softer fields, although for hard ground, it's kind of ideal. This boot's claim to fame, however, is the fact that it is extremely lightweight, falling into the 5-ounce range in a size 9.5 US, which is pretty much unheard of in today's current football boot market. It is one of, if not the lightest football boots that you can buy right now. So if you like that weightless sensation, look no further than the Umbro Medusa 3 Pro that I'm holding upside down. This is the only boot on this entire list that does this. The made in Japan Mizuno Morelia 2 basically does everything the Copa Mundial does, but better. The made in Japan quality is incredible. I would argue better than the made in Germany quality of the Copa Mundial. And the Copa Mundial is top notch in terms of overall build quality. The kangaroo leather is better than the Copa Mundial. It is arguably the best of any boot on the market, period. Super, super soft and extremely comfortable. As far as fit is concerned, in comparison to a Copa, this has a much more modern, lower profile silhouette that if you're used to modern boots, I think most people will prefer in a major way. It just feels much better on feet straight out of the box versus a pair of Copas that require a tremendous amount of break-in time. It has a fold-over flap tongue with the Velcro to hold it down, something else the Copa does not have. Low-cut construction, very high-quality heel liner, and one of the best insoles in the business, featuring this gritty texturing to help hold your foot in place, making this boot in general just way more responsive than a pair of Copa Mundials. The sole plate and stud pattern, well, it looks very much like a Copa, but it is significantly lighter, basically 3 ounces lighter than a pair of Copas, and on par with pretty much any high-end boot. In a size 9, 9.5 US, they weigh in around the 7-ounce range, which is extremely impressive. The only downside is that they're expensive, but trust me when I say you get what you pay for. The future is here. The Puma Future 19.1 is really Puma's first go at a fully knitted pair of football boots, and they've done a good job, although I will say in comparison to most knitted boots, these do require a little bit more break-in time and that the upper is relatively firm out of the box. Either way, it's the first major evolution we've seen of the Puma Future concept, maintaining the net fit design, although this time around, there's no actual net. It's now just holes in a knitted upper. With each one of those holes, you can use as a lacing position or choose to avoid that area completely. This is my own custom setup where I lace it a little higher on the medial side because I'm slightly flat-footed to allow for slightly more expansion in the upper, and then on the lateral side where I want as much lockdown as possible, I lace it in the lower positions so the laces are grabbing most of the upper, really securing it in place. With the proper setup that just requires a little bit of playing around based on your foot type, you can really achieve a great fit, a unique, slightly customized fit, and tremendous lockdown with the boot. Some people even like to wear these without the laces at all. I am not one of those people, but if you want to give that a go, by all means give it a try, especially if you already have the boots. There's a little bit of additional grip due to the texturing of the upper. It does have a mid-cut collar as well that's there pretty much just for the sake of looks. It does have more of a low-cut feel, I would say. And then it also has one of the more underrated sole plates and stud patterns on the market right now, featuring an FGAG stud pattern as well that I'm a really big fan of. And an honorable mention goes out to the low-cut variation, which is my preference for the Future 19.1, not only because I think it looks a little bit better, but I do like the construction in the heel that I just find to be more comfortable on the low-cut version. I have nothing funny or clever to say about these. They're just good. The Lotto Maestro 200 is one of the more unknown boots on this list for sure, Lotto not being the most popular brand at the moment, but that does not take away from how good this boot is, especially for the price of basically right around $100. You're getting an upper that is more or less the OG Nike skin from the Hypervenom Phantom 1 reincarnated. It's thin, it's soft, it's flexible, admittedly a little bit thinner than what we had on the Phantom 1, but it's more heavily reinforced, so it doesn't overstretch quite like those boots did. It's got an off-center lacing system with this really nice padded mesh material filling in the central portion of the upper. It transitions to synthetic towards the back, featuring a really traditional construction that just feels really good and gets the job done. Plus it has a very sprint frame-esque sole plate and stud pattern, something that honestly Lotto has been doing for a very long time, giving these boots a nice solid but also lightweight feel, and the stud pattern as a whole just works extremely well. They've kept things very simple despite maybe the more complex design. Your opinion on the look doesn't really matter when it comes to overall performance, because from a performance standpoint, this is top notch. Didn't John just say that he wouldn't recommend the Rebula? The made in Japan Mizuno Rebula 2V1 is a boot that I recently said that I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying based on the fact that it does share a lot of similar features to that of the Nike Tiempo Legend 7 Elite, which is obviously a lot less expensive. But because this video is the best boots that aren't made by Nike or Adidas, then I definitely think that if you're not into Nike, this is one that I can recommend, especially from a quality perspective, because it's really difficult to beat out the made in Japan Mizuno products. I really do feel like the build quality is better than everything else out there. The quality of the leather, also far superior to what you'll find on a pair of Tiempo Legends. Very thin, but with this very interesting memory foam material, acting basically as a support cage throughout the entire upper, giving it this unique dampened sensation that does remind me a little bit of past Mizuno models like we had from the Supersonic Wave, as well as the CTR 360 Maestri line, which had the memory foam inserts as well. The off-centered lacing system is something that I'm a big fan of. The overall comfort of the boot and shape is something that some people have complained about. It's got a much lower profile and tighter fit than you might expect, which does make for a very responsive feel, but that's again going to vary from person to person. And as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, it is admittedly not my favorite, but if you play on hard ground surfaces, I definitely think that this is one of the better layouts out there. So there you have it. If you're sick of wearing the same boots as everyone else, those are, in my opinion, the top 10 best boots that you can buy that aren't from Nike or Adidas. If you guys enjoyed this video, please support it with a like. That helps me out tremendously. And again, if you're interested in any of the boots that I talked about today, links to all of them to get them at a discounted price are down below in the description, so go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions regarding anything that I talked about in today's video or any opinions of your own, leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.